Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Flight Sim community. This is Fiber Strike 95, and welcome back to our another installation of our 50 States of 50 Streams. Today, we're here in Idaho today. Yes, we're in the 43rd State of the Union in Idaho today. I hope you're all doing well here today on this weekend. I know there's been a lot of stuff going on, obviously, with the 4th of July and stuff. So today we'll be exploring the backcountry of Idaho as we make our way over from our current airport here in Salmon, and we'll make our way down over to Boise, Idaho, state capital of Idaho. So before we get started, I do want to say hello to everyone in chat and all the lurkers. Good to see you guys here this morning. I know it's been going on here today. So let's go ahead and cover the flight plan for today. So today's flight plan, we're going to start here in Leno County Airport in Salmon. We're going to fly over the town for a bit. Then from there, we're going to be climbing up to 12,000. We're going to climb up all the way to 10,500 feet as we make our way over to our first stop of the day here at Stanley Airport, 2 Uniform 7. Then from there, we're going to head down to Sun Valley. We're going to fly over the valley to Sun Valley, Idaho, before making our way over to Fairbanks Airport, Fairbanks Airfield, just outside of Twin Falls, Idaho. So we'll be making our way to Twin Falls. And then for our last leg, we'll be flying all the way to the state capital of Idaho. We'll be flying to Boise and land at Boise Air Terminal Airport, going field. So that is where we're going to be doing today. So that is where we're going to today. That will be our flying day. So the plane we're taking today, I'm thinking about taking the Pilatus PC Porter. I think that would be a great plane for today. I thought the Porter, with its solo capabilities and the fact it can fly to high altitudes, I think would make this a really neat plane for today. So we'll be taking the Pilatus Porter out for this morning's stream. So we're going to get ready to get back in the air soon. I think the avionics are about to turn on for a bit. I guess it's gonna go be like this for morning. I don't know. Something's bugged out a bit. So this is Salmon, Idaho is where we're going to be taking off here this morning. One of the interesting things about Salmon, Idaho is population 3,119 people. The county seat of Lemhi County, Idaho. Lewis and Clark expedition actually crossed its way here during their expedition. They crossed into Lemhi Pass. And they ascended to the fork of the river, and the town itself is now named after the confluence of the river. And Sacagawea was actually born in this region, and as a result, you can find her interpretive center located in the city. Of course, at one point, it was also the terminus of a defunct Gilmore Pittsburgh Railroad that connects between southwest Montana and east central Idaho. And this area is well known for its strong amount of outdoor recreation sports, including that of hockey, soccer, whitewater rafting, and other programs too. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and restart this for a bit. I don't know if it's a bug or I didn't do something right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to restart, do all the settings, and then get back to the sky. Yeah, this is weird if this thing doesn't work out the way it does. This would be very weird. That's weird. That's weird. There's one last thing I can try. There is one last thing. So I need to end the flight. And spawn back on the runway. Because, yeah, I need to have this in order to navigate this a lot easier. I do apologize to you guys for doing this. I really am sorry for this. It just let's do it like this. Let's see if it still bugs out. Okay, this still bugs out. How unusual. Avionics on this don't really work. Ah, great. Looks like I'm gonna have to pick a different plane for this one, guys. I want to pick in something super fast, obviously. I need something that can take bush environments. Um, airplane. Once it can handle bush, and then it goes around 100. I guess I could pick the Grand Caravan and just go a little slow. I guess I'll pick the Grand Caravan for this. So do mind, I do change the. So I do apologize to all you guys. I don't really. This should be pretty quick. I should take care of this pretty quickly. Here we go, guys. It's gonna take a second because this is a turboprop. It'll take. And, yeah, it took a bit of a while. The problem is the avionics in this thing works. Okay, good to see that this is now working. So we're gonna climb up to 10,500 feet. Yeah, I'll try and limit the speed of this thing to match what the Palas would have done. I won't be going there too. Let's go ahead and get this prepared to take off. Here it is, guys. We're taking off here in Idaho. Beautiful salmon. This is a beautiful part of the United States here in Idaho. So this is salmon, by the way. Confluence of the Salmon River. This river is actually very popular for a lot of the whitewater rafting areas in Idaho. This very popular whitewater rafting river. So here's Salmon, Idaho. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Idaho as we fly our way up. Let's discuss a bit about the U.S. state of Idaho as we're climbing up to 10,500 feet. So the U.S. state of Idaho is a landlocked state in the Pacific Northwest and Rock Mountain West regions of the United States. It's bordered by the U.S. states of Montana and Wyoming to the east, Nevada and Utah to the south, and Washington, Oregon to the west, as well as a small border with the province of British Columbia. The state capital and largest city is in Boise, Idaho. And Idaho is our nation's 14th largest state by land area with an area of 83,569 square miles. It's populated by only 2 million people, making it the 13th least populous state in the country and the 7th least densely populated of the 50 U.S. states. One interesting thing about Idaho is that this is a very mountainous state in the United States. It contains several stretches of the Rocky Mountains, and of course, much of the land of Idaho is owned by the U.S. Forest Service, the most of any U.S. state. Significant parts of its economy include manufacturing, agriculture, mining, forestry, and tourism. And of course, it's best known for its potato crop, which Idaho produces around the nation's 1/3 of the nationwide yield for potatoes. So, pretty cool fun fact. So, the history of Idaho will date back to around 14,500 years ago. People have been inhabiting this region at the time. They found out from Wilson Boot Cave in Twin Falls. But of course, and now there are quite a few native groups that lived in this area, but most notably, the Nez Perce in the north, in the northwestern Shoshone in the south are the main indigenous people that lived in this area. Of course, French Canadian travelers have actually been visited this area during the colonial times. But of course, and also Lewis and Clark expedition also came into Idaho as well. Of course, Idaho was claimed by the United States as part of Oregon country, and that lasted until 1846 when the U.S. gained undisputed jurisdiction, and of course it was part of the Oregon government. For a long time has been part of Oregon's government. And when Oregon became a state, Idaho was actually part of the Washington Territory. And of course, between those time periods, it was much of Idaho was included in Oregon, Washington, Dakota, as well as being part of Montana and Wyoming. But of course, Idaho then later became its own territory and it gained statehood back in 1890, following a difficult start as a territory, including the transfer of its capital from Lewiston to Boise, and more. Despite all that, Idaho became the U.S. the 43rd state during this time period. Of course, it had a difficult start between the territorial capital change, the disenfranchisement of the Mormons in 1890, and a federal attempt to split the territory between Washington and Nevada. But eventually, it became its own state, thankfully. Of course, Idaho was very much heavily hit by the Great Depression, as prices plummeted for its major crops, especially potatoes. And as a result, many of them had to move out from the West. But of course, during the later time period, there have been, of course, there have been a lot of minor uprisings throughout the state, as mining was a pretty big deal in the state for much of its early years. It was the gem state, of course, so tons of gems. But, and of course, Idaho also had to contend with the COVID-19 vaccine pandemic as well. And finally, of course, Idaho continued to diversify its economy, and as a result, science technology is now 25% of its gross state product in 2001. So that's about its history. Again, Idaho doesn't have a lot of it, obviously. That's Idaho's history. There isn't too much about it, but there's definitely some really cool stuff. So we're gonna be flying over the beautiful scenery of this state. If it's one thing Idaho has plenty of, it is its scenery. Idaho is absolutely gorgeous. That's why people love doing the bush flying stuff in this state for a reason. Its mountainous terrain brings a lot of excitement, of course. So we're going to go ahead and make his way over to, we're going to make his way over to Stanley Airport. It's going to be our first stop of the day. So I hope you guys had a good weekend. If for all the Americans in chat, I know 4th of July happened. I hope you enjoyed the fireworks and in the festivities, of course, the 4th of July. So next week we'll be covering 2 more series. We're going to be covering Wyoming and Utah next week of our 50 states, 50 streets. Yes, we're about finished with the series. So it's hard to believe that we're just about finished with this entire series, guys. We only have a couple more weeks left in the series. We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks left until we're done with this. Crazy to think we're really done with this series, but it's hard to believe. But I'm very much looking forward to the next series. But I'm looking forward to the next part of this series. So looking forward to the next series coming up very shortly. Or not series, multiple series, in fact, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, some absolutely gorgeous scenery, guys. Just breathtaking. Look at that. That's just the Idaho scenery is just breathtaking. there's quite a bit of Idaho that I do want to speak about as well. And that's got to be Idaho's geography, and it's really cool though. We'll talk about that once we reach the halfway point to our second stop, to our first stop. We'll talk more about it. Of course, for Firefly Air, um, here's Firefly Air. We just now opened the new hub in Genoa the other day. We just earlier today we have now opened up our new hub in Genoa. So the new monthly schedule's up, so I'm gonna have to get working on the monthly schedule. But yes, I played a big part in the routes because he had holidays, so I had to help him with the routes. We got tons of really good airports to fly to in Genoa. Really cool ones. I'm looking forward to the new Genoa hub and see what we got here. Got quite a bit of stuff going on for sure. Let's go ahead and bring up Idaho's geography for a bit of a geography lesson. So Idaho geographically shares a border with 6 U.S. states and a Canadian province. Of course, the landscape of Idaho is very rugged with some of the largest unspoiled natural areas in the United States. For example, at 2.3 million acres, the Frank Church River No Return Wilderness Area is the largest contiguous area of protected wilderness in the continental United States. So tons of protected, unspoiled wilderness. Of course, there are some many important rivers. There's tons of resources, natural scenery areas in the state, including Hell's Canyon, which runs along the Snake River, is the deepest gorge in the United States. Yes, and Shoshone Falls, which is right we're going to be flying over, is fall downs even higher than that of Niagara. But of course, the most important river is the Snake River, a tributary of the Columbia River, and it flows from Yellowstone in northwest Wyoming through southern Idaho and going north to Lewiston. And much of the population of Idaho lives in the Snake River Plain, which includes the cities of Boise, Meridian, Nampa, Caldwell, Twin Falls, Idaho Falls, and Pocatello. All live in this area. The tallest peak, the highest point in Idaho is Bora Peak in the Lost River Range north of McKay, Idaho, while the lowest point is in Lewiston. The most famous mountain range is the Sawtooth Ridge, which we will be flying near during our trip. And of course, tons of natural forests as well. There are tons of them. But Idaho is an absolutely gorgeous U.S. state. So in terms of climate, let me go ahead and pull that. For climate reasons, Idaho's climate it varies very widely. Although the state's western border is about 330 miles from the Pacific Ocean, the maritime influence is still felt in Idaho, especially in the winter. And as a result, it has a moderate effect of winter temperatures are not low as would be otherwise for such a northern state with high elevation. In the Panhandle, moist air masses from the coast are precipitated over the forest, creating its own temperate rainforests. The maritime influence is least prominent in the eastern part of the state. Of course, Idaho can be hot, although exterior periods above 98 degrees are very rare, except in Lewiston, which sees little snow. Hot summer days are tempered by the low humidity and cooler evenings during the summer months because of its mountains. The winters can be cold, though again, the bitter cold weather is actually pretty unusual here in the state. All-time highest temperature in the state was 118 degrees in Orofino in 1934, and the all-time lowest was negative 60 degrees in Island Park Dam. So that will be that is Idaho's geography in a nutshell. So that is Idaho's geography. For you guys. Yes, Idaho is definitely a beautiful state. But the mountains here are absolutely gorgeous. The mountains are gorgeous, guys. Say that. Hmm. So Stanley will be our first stop of the day. We'll be arriving in Stanley very shortly. So here's our first stop. It's going to be Stanley, Idaho. We see the Sawtooth Mountain Range just dead ahead of us. So Stanley, Idaho, located in Custer County, Idaho, in the Sawtooth Valley. Its population is only 116 people. Yeah, there's not a lot of people here. Fur trappers have found this area back in the 1820s. However, it wasn't there due to the fact there wasn't very many beavers. John Stanley, however, a Confederate war veteran, led a party into this area in 1863, but eventually he gave it its name, of course. Of course, it's long been a popular gathering place for the region. And of course, it was also involved in a 2017 solar eclipse that brought a lot of visitors into Stanley, Idaho. So, definitely pretty interesting stuff. And then in terms of culture, it was featured in the 1985 film, Clint Eastwood film, Pale Rider. It was mainly shot in this region in the Sawtooth Natural Recreation Area. So, pretty cool stuff. Neat little town. But it's located in the picturesque area here in Idaho. Yeah, beautiful scenery, guys. Gorgeous. So there are a lot of different. And we'll be coming up very shortly. We'll be ready to make our first landing here very shortly. So again, this is the Salmon River course. We're still technically following our way to the Salmon River down below. But yeah, this is a very popular whitewater rafting area. And if you're rafting, it's probably beautiful scenery all around. Now there's the Sawtooth Ridge Mountains. Here we go, guys. Our first lane of the day here. Here, guys. Yes, our airport is in a dirt. It is a dirt strip for our airport. This here is Stanley. Yep, there we are, guys. First stop at Stanley Airport. I know the landing wasn't very smooth, but I got her down. Just park right here. Right here would be a good place to park. I even bought the parking brake. Oh man, look at the view. Ah, look at that, boys. That is a gorgeous screenshot right here. The Cessna 2A right in front of the Sawtooth Mountain Range. Oh, that is just gorgeous. Oh, that's epic. So we'll stay right here for just a little bit as we prepare for the next leg. Our next leg will be probably the longest leg as we fly over to Twin Falls, Idaho. We're going to go ahead and prepare for the next leg. A beautiful strap shot. If you guys want to join on in, we're the Southeast Asia server, and we're located in 247. Is where we're at right now. We'll be getting back up very short. So let's go ahead and prepare for the next leg as we go head on down to Sun Valley and Twin Falls. Go ahead and prepare for the next leg. Our next leg, we'll be flying to over 12,000 feet. So we'll be 12,000 feet for the first part of the leg, and then we'll descend down over to 8,000 feet for the next leg. For the next part of the leg, we'll descend down to 8,000, then we'll descend a little further in altitude. I mean, what a beautiful airport. You can see the Salty Mountain Ridge. Absolutely breathtaking mountain peak here in this part of Idaho. Yeah, what a gorgeous area. So as we're going to climb our way up to 12,000 feet, so let's go ahead and talk about Idaho's economy for a bit. So Idaho, economically speaking, is $128 billion in 2024. Its per state income cap, the state's per capita income is $61,836. So as a result, it has the 46th highest GDP per capita in the United States, which is about the bottom half of the U.S. state. Agriculturally, potatoes are the biggest crop, as 1/3 of the nation's potatoes are grown in Idaho, mainly in the Snake River Plain. Important industries in the state include food processing, lumber, and wood products are a big part of its industry, as well as machinery, chemical products, paper products, electronics manufacturing, silver, and other mining and tourism. All really important parts of Idaho's economy. Uh, in addition to potatoes, other parts of the agricultural sector include cattle, is the second largest state, and Idaho is also the nation's third largest producer of milk and cheese. Yes, Idaho is actually very much a dairy state. Contrary to what people believe, potatoes aren't the only thing grown in Idaho. Um, but yes, potatoes are the big part. Of course, mining played a big role for its statehood, has been mining. And it's still known as the gem state, even though mining has been diminished over time, the gem state is still renowned due to the fact it produced over 72 varieties of precious and semi-precious stones. Of course, Idaho also has its number of Fortune 500 companies are also around here too, which includes Safeway, Albertsons, GR Simplot, and Potlatch Corp in Lewiston, some of the major companies found here in the state. Yeah, you can look to our right, you can see some of the salty mountain range. Back. We're flying at 187 knots here. We're heading to Sun Valley next. We're closing into that region pretty shortly. Beautiful scenery here today. Yeah, I could fly along the valley too and get some beautiful stuff, but we're going to fly over in this area and explore more about this here. Gorgeous stuff. So, of course, Sun Valley will be coming up pretty shortly. So, Sun Valley will be our next waypoint would be Sun Valley, Idaho. This resort city in Blaine County, Idaho, has a population of around 1,700 people and it's elevated 5,900 feet above sea level. Among skiers, Sun Valley actually refers to the alpine ski area of Bald Mountain, the mountain adjacent to Ketchum, while Dollar Mountain is known for novice and lower intermediate skiers, while Bald Mountain is known for advanced and expert skiers. Of course, the term itself is more generally speak to the region surrounding the city, including the neighboring city of Ketchum and the Wood River Valley area of Haley and Bellevue, and has been brought attention to the rich and famous since Ernest Hemingway in the late 1930s. Of course, this area was also part of the Union Pacific Railroad, and a lot of people went up to this region for skiing and stuff. And as a result, this area really grew into a major skiing area, and it still is today. And lots of celebrities have made their place here in the city. Ernest Hemingway first was the first most notable person to promote it, but also actors like Gary Cooper, Clark Gable, Lucille Ball, Marilyn Monroe, several members of the Kennedy family were part of this area. Adam West had a ranch in this area. Its oldest resident was actually Robert Kent as well. A lot of residents made their ways here, and there would be tons of famous people that made their way here to Sun Valley. Really cool area, and like I said, it'd be an absolutely gorgeous area in Idaho to visit. One of the many beautiful regions here in the state. So I'm going to go ahead and descend down over to 9,000 feet. I'm going to descend over to 9,000 feet. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to press. We're going to descend 500 feet per minute. Yeah, some of the peaks here in Idaho are just crazy. But now I want to descend down so that way we can get onto a lower altitude for Sun Valley. We officially make our way over to Sun Valley, and then once we head to Sun Valley, we're going to make our way over to this here is the Sun Valley region here of Idaho. Absolutely gorgeous. This here is Sun Valley. This is Big Ball Mountain. And as you can tell, some of the stuff's cut in the mountains. That is because this is a skiing resort. like what it looks like in the wintertime, by the way. I'm going to go ahead and change the season for you. Let's change it to January. This is during the winter season, so you can see all the skiing and stuff up here. And as you can tell, this is all that's cut, and that's for skiing, and this is a very popular skiing area for skiers. Skiers love going down this area. I'm going to go ahead and change this back to July. Change things back to the purple. We're going to go ahead and so we're going to go 8,000 feet. So not far from this area is Kilo Sierra Uniform November, and that is Friedman Memorial Airport. And that's the main commercial gateway to this area. So we're going to go ahead and continue going straight here. And we're going to continue on this way for another 66 nautical miles. We head our way down over to Twin Falls. Yeah, gorgeous area, guys. I bet you guys probably agree with me that this is absolutely breathtaking area of the world. So, let's go ahead and talk about the next section here of Idaho, and that's transportation. In terms of transportation, Idaho Transportation Department is the government agency responsible for Idaho's transportation infrastructure, including operation maintenance, planning for future needs, and more. In terms of roads, there are multiple highways that go through it, but the main interstates that go through Idaho include I-15, I-84, I-86, I-90, and I-184 are the main highways here in Idaho. In terms of airports, the most important airport in the state is Boise Airport, which we will be visiting on our trip. But there are also another airport that's also well known is actually Washington, Spokane, because Spokane is the main connection to northern Idaho is often connected to that airport. Other airports in the state also include Palouse, Pullman, Moscow Airport, the Palouse area, Lewiston-Nez Perce County Airport in the Lewis-Clark Valley in north central Idaho, and Magic Valley in Twin Falls, Friedman and Haley in the Sun Valley, Idaho Falls Regional, and Pocatello Regional Airports, the main airports in the state. There's also 3 transcontinental railroads that serve this area. The Burlington Northern Santa Fe region connects the Panhandle with Seattle, Spokane to the west, and Minneapolis, Chicago to the east. You also have the Canadian Pacific Railway, using the Union Pacific Railroad in North Idaho, and Amtrak's Empire Builder across the northern Idaho. And of course, for ports, the Port Lewiston's actually the farthest inland Pacific port on the west coast. A series of data locks on the Snake River and Columbia River facilitate travel barge between Lewiston and Portland. Where goods are loaded into ocean-going vessels. Yes, Lewiston, Idaho, believe it or not, is the farthest inland port. Sounds crazy, but it's actually true. Because it's wide enough for ocean-going vessels to get in and out of this area. And they go through the Columbia River, go all the way into the west coast, into Portland. Crazy, I know. So in terms of other news as well, for sports, the USL Championship happened from Louisville City. They won last night. They got another win for Louisville City, a 1-0 victory on Friday against Colorado Springs in Colorado. Big win, and they get 3 more points for Louisville City, as now they're 37 points ahead of the rest of the league. So another good start for Louisville City. Nicely done. For MLB, of course, I did watch the Bats game Thursday. They lost, but yeah, the Blue Jays won 9 out of the last 10 games. They've been airing up the last 10 games or so. So yeah, we're going to sit down to 5,000 feet. I'm going to slowly descend 500 feet per minute. So we reached over to Twin Falls, Idaho. So we're just about halfway done with this trip. Hey, Red Baron, good to see you. We're in Idaho today. I was supposed to take the Polaris PC6, but the avionics weren't loaded into it, so I switched into the Grand Caravan today. But as you can tell, we had some beautiful scenery today through much of the mountain ranges of central Idaho. We're very much heading our way over to Boise this minute. So Boise, Idaho will be where we're going to be flying for our final stop. Yeah, we're doing pretty well, the Red Baron. Um, hmm. Now, of course, we're going to discuss some pretty big stuff going on. Oh yeah, today is the CONCACAF Gold Cup final today for U.S. soccer, which will be pretty nice. Um, Big game between U.S. and Mexico once again. The U.S.-Mexico soccer rivalry is back once again. The Gold Cup is basically the top continental tournament for men's team North America. Mexico has been the most successful team, but I mean, if the Americans win tonight, that would make it the 8th time the U.S. has won the competition. But yeah, it's been three nations have won this title competition: the U.S., Mexico, and one time Canada won the entire thing. There will be a couple of other runner-ups from the past, including Panama, Jamaica. Yes, Brazil participated in it twice. The under 23 represented the under 23 played in North America, and also Honduras. So, pretty big stuff going on today in U.S. soccer for the U.S. men's soccer team. So, so we're going to be flying over Twin Falls, Idaho, pretty shortly. It will be making to Twin Falls. Twin Falls, Idaho is located in Twin Falls County against its own seat, population 51,000. It's the largest city in a 100-mile radius in the regional commercial center of South Central Idaho in northeast Nevada. Um, it's located in the broad plain in the south rim of Snake River Canyon. Twin Falls was most famous for when Daredevil Evel Knievel attempted to cross the canyon in 1974 on a steam power rocket. He did his famous Snake River jump. And the jump site's located in Twin Falls, of course. But Twin Falls was also visited by, of course, many Native American tribes lived in this area, like the Shoshone and Bannock tribes. Of course, there are a couple of expeditions in this region, but it did become an incorporated city until 1905, actually. So yes, Twin Falls is actually pretty new. And it's mainly well known for um, quite a few agricultural stuff. Mainly, it's a lot of agriculture. Of course, its most famous geography feature is Shoshone Falls, which is actually it's around 45 feet higher than Niagara Falls itself. Yes, Sunshine Falls is actually a pretty big waterfall. Not only that, but Sunshine Falls also was a major part of its city for its for hydroelectric power. So, pretty cool stuff. Oh, yes. In fact, our airport is actually not far from Sunshine Falls. In fact, it's actually pretty much right next to it. We can just fly into the falls. So apparently, speaking of Evel Knievel's jump, he actually did launch on 1974 with steam-powered engine temperature to 500 degrees. And the parachute prematurely deployed as it left the launching rail. And even though the craft actually made it across the canyon, in the North Rim, winds drifted back. Evel Knievel actually did survive the incident. And he actually survived the failed jump. It ultimately failed, but he did survive the jump with only minor injuries. And believe it or not, this was actually done a couple of times, funnily enough, by other people. And most notably, it was actually succeeded by stuntman Andy Braun, and he actually successfully completed the jump in 2016, funnily enough. Yes. He actually made the jump. He made several jumps, of course. But this was definitely one of his more well-known ones. So that is a story about Evel Knievel, how he attempted to jump the Snake Canyon. Snake River Canyon, but ultimately he... Actually, speaking of which, maybe I'll post a video for you guys and see about the completed version of the jump. Let's see if I can find it for you. And I can post it here in the chat. So here's the link to this video. This is the Evel Knievel jump. And this one, and the other YouTube one is this one, and that is the successful version of the jump. This is the first one's Evel Knievel's attempt at it from the world famous Daredevil. And then the other one, of course, is and this is the successful version by Eddie Braun. He made that. But yes, Evel Knievel's actually from Butte, Montana, by the way, which we visited actually during last week's stream. We visited Butte, Montana. But yeah, I wanted to let you guys know about that because I think this is pretty cool. And we're going to make our way to Sunshine Falls. So yeah, we're about to make our second stop of the day. We still got one final leg left to go on this trip. That is to Boise. Thank you guys so much for coming here today. I really do appreciate all you guys being here. You know, we got lots of stuff going on. Mm. And yes, man, we'll be flying over the Shoshone Falls too, so we'll take a picture of those beautiful waterfalls as well. So, pretty cool stuff. Okay, we're going to go ahead and autopilot. There's our airfield. Yeah, this is all part of the Snake River Canyon, by the way. Yeah, all this is part of the Snake River Canyon, by the way. So, guys, 1 India Delta 7. That's going to be our today. We'll stop here for just a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and stop. So, for Ryan Twin Falls, Idaho, we'll be staying here for just a little bit, and then we'll head our way up to our final stop at Boise Airport. let's go ahead, guys, and go ahead and prepare for the last leg of the stream. We got one last leg left to go. Let's make our way over to our last stop here. We're going to fly back at 5,000 feet for the first part of the leg, and then we'll be climbing 6,000 feet for the rest of the way. But yeah, this is all part of the Snake River Canyon. The Twin Falls will be located just a bit to our left. Is Twin Falls, but the main piece of scenery we should be flying over is the Shoshone Falls, which is coming up real soon. Is Shoshone Falls. That'll be coming up really soon. I think that's the park right here, is Shoshone Falls. Hey, we got right from Infectious. Good to see you, my dude. Welcome on in, Infectious. I hope you're having a good stream, my dude. Thank you so much. We're in Idaho today. We're doing our 50 states in 50 streams, as I cover 50 states of the United States in 50 streams. We're in the U.S. state of Idaho today. This is Shoshone Falls. Believe it or not, it's 45 feet higher in drop compared to that of Niagara Falls. And thank you guys so much for the new follows. Wrecker, Courtney, Scotty Don'ts, thank you all so much for the follows. Guys, thank you so much. So, Infectious, I hope you had a great stream. Where'd you end up flying today, my dude? I hope you... But yeah, I'm doing great. Idaho, we started our trip back in Salmon, Idaho, right in the heart of the central Idaho. And we were heading down to Boise. We flew across central Idaho into Stanley, right in the banks of the Sawtooth Ridge. Then we went down through Sun Valley, Twin Falls, and now we're heading up to Boise. That's what we're doing here today. But I'm doing very good, my dude. Thank you so much. If you guys don't know about me, I'm ViperStrike95. I've been streaming here on Twitch since 2021. I've done many different types of streams. In the past, my first series was a baseball-related series covering Major League Baseball, since baseball is one of my favorite sports. But I've covered tons of series. I've done historical flights, including an around-the-world recreation of the 2017 Breitling DC-3 flights from round trip from Geneva. With a 77-year-old DC-3, I've done tons of GA-related series, including many places around the world. And upcoming in a couple of weeks, I'll be doing 2 new series. I'll do an updated all countries trip where I visit every single country in the world. And then the other series, which is going to be on Sundays, is going to be a national park series covering all 63 U.S. national parks with general aviation. And that is much more of a backcountry series where we do backcountry stuff and explore the scenery. Oh, nice! You did 2 sectors from Bristol to Verona. Cool. That's fantastic. To Verona, that's really cool. Yeah, the Verona, northern Italy, that's really pretty up there, by the way. I've done some flying in that region in the past. Verona's gorgeous. The Verona, Milan area, Lugano, that's just... The Alps are just pretty in this. Always been a big favorite of mine. Thank you all so much for the first-time chats. We have Courtney, Wrecker, Lee Boyd, and One Journey Make It Count. It was cool. Oh, cool approach. Oh, that stinks. Stutters absolutely stink. I get those too when I'm flying in the sim. They really need to get that sorted out, the performance and stuff. that really definitely needs to get sorted out, because especially when people are going to bring in the newer airliners into the sim and all that, that's going to be a pretty big problem if you ask me. All this area, by the way, is Snake River Canyon, and that goes throughout much of Idaho, especially in the western half of the state, with the western border. Because Snake River, as you guys know, the Snake River flows all the way up to Lewiston, and all. It starts in the Lewiston area, and the most famous thing about Snake River is of course Hell's Canyon, the single deepest gorge in the United States. I believe it's even deeper than the Grand Canyon. So, yes, it is very, very. If you guys know, I do lots of research for my streams. If you see these slide points right here, I made these myself actually, and it has all the information about where we're going to be going, because I'm always a bit of a researcher myself. Researching is something I enjoy. So we're going to cover the last parts of it. So sports in Idaho, there's no major league teams in the state. However, Idaho has a lot of outdoor recreation. Central Idaho is home to Sun Valley, one of the oldest ski resorts in North America. Other outdoor sites that are popular include Hell's Canyon, Salmon River, which is extremely well known for its whitewater rafting, in Riggins, Idaho, the embarkation for many down to the Salmon River. In terms of other sports, they got a lot of minor league stuff, including the minor league Boise Hawks, the Idaho Steelheads of the EHL, and a couple of others. But its most famous sports team is actually collegiate sports. Most obviously, Boise State, the Broncos. Boise State Broncos, most famous for its blue turf, which you see here in the picture. That is Albertson Stadium, the blue turf. Oh, good question. The deepest point on Earth, Skynon? You can find it in the Marianas Trench. That's literally the deepest point on Earth. The Mariana Trench. It goes 36,000 feet below sea level. It is the deepest ocean trench on Earth. It's literally, the deepest point of the trench is more than 1.2 miles farther than the peak of Everest. And it's about 43 miles in width. It's found in the Pacific Ocean and around the Marianas Islands. Yes, it is super deep. The deepest anyone's ever traveled down there, by the way, was a descent of 35,000 feet below sea level. 35,000 feet. Yes, it is very deep sea level. Very, very deep. I'm not kidding. It is very deep. I need a turn. Because I was so looking at the chat, I kind of lost sight of my directions. Yeah, all this is part of the Snake Rivers. Beautiful canyons here. We're heading down to Boise for a bit. Yes, Challenger Deep is the deep. Oh, Challenger Deep? Oh, I didn't know about that. But it is located in the Marianas Trench, is the deepest point on Earth. But yes, I said the Mariana Trench is the deepest. I guess the Challenger Deep is the deepest point. Okay, but thank you for correcting me on that. But I was in the right area, I just didn't know what it was. But thank you, my dude, for correcting me a bit. Like I said, I'm smart, I'm pretty knowledgeable in things, but like I said, even I can be corrected some bit. It is very, very deep. It's, I mean, the amount of structure and engineering has to take to put a submersible to go that deep is crazy. And it turns out there are still animals that actually live in this area. Despite the high sea pressure, there's actually quite a bit of animal life that lives down there, including flatfish they're about 12 inches long. Shrimp have been known to live down here. Sea cucumbers. And even amphipods can live down here too. So yes, there has been a lot of it. No, I appreciate it. It's a, like I said, I'm smart, but even I can be proven right. So now I'm going to talk about some interesting fun facts about Idaho State, the gem state. If you know, you carry little spuds? Yes. Uh, it doesn't have any cargo here. I guess I could put some cargo. Need a put. Here we go. Load into aircraft. There we go. There we go. I got loads of spuds. Fun fact: if you guys don't know, Idaho produces 1/3 of our nation's potatoes is grown in this area, and they grow right in this valley. Snake River Valley is where they grow 1/3 of our nation's potatoes. Hmm. In fact, Idaho grows a lot. They mainly grow russet potatoes, are actually what they mainly grow. But don't be surprised if you find red potatoes, fingerlings, and Yukon golds are produced here. But russet potatoes are the most well-known variety of it. And I believe the reason why the russet grows so much is because its versatility for cooking, because it's very good for baking, mashing, and frying. Is very popular baking potatoes. So that's why the russets are grown a lot. But yes. Ah, yes, your state produces the most wide-known blueberries. Oh, oh, very cool. In fact, I believe that state is Maine because Maine grows 99% of the blueberries in the United States is Maine. Yep, I think that's where it is. I've been in Maine before. Maine is the blueberry growing state is Maine. 99%. Yep. I flew to Maine earlier in my journey there, Scotty. I did a stream there a while back on the series. In fact, if you guys want to check out more of my series, I grow here in the Discord. So you guys are more than welcome to come here and keep track of my streams. But yes, I actually had a flight plan in Maine. We um went through Portland, Freeport, Rockland, Bar Harbor. We actually went through Augusta, Rockland, Bar Harbor, and went up to Millinocket. We also had to go through Cafetin too. We did a lot of that stuff in Maine. Very, very beautiful state. I've been in there in real life too. Been to Bar Harbor last year. Beautiful area. Acadia was gorgeous. And I'll be heading back to Maine once again later this year on another trip. Let's go over my fun facts about Idaho, shall we? Of course, Hell's Canyon is the deepest gorge in America. I think I mentioned that. Uh, I mentioned that earlier. Hell's Canyon. Believe it or not, Hell's Canyon has a depth of 7,993 feet in depth. That's right, it's even deeper than Hell's Canyon. Hell's Canyon is deeper than the Grand Canyon now. Shoshone Falls, which we flew earlier, fills over 120-foot drop over Twin Falls, which is the Niagara of the West. And yes, it's about 45 feet higher than Niagara Falls in New York. One interesting other fact about Idaho is, of course, the present seal of our state. The seal of Idaho was actually designed by a woman, Emma Edwards Green, making her the only woman in U.S. history to design a state seal. Yes, every other one is a male who designed the state seal, but she's the first woman, the only woman to do it. Elk River is home to the Idaho champion red-centered tree, largest tree in the state. It's around 3,000 years old, 18 foot in diameter, which is longer than all this. It stands at a whopping 177 feet tall. Really impressive for a tree that size. The Canyon Valley is rich in heritage in the legends of the Nez Perce. Uh, it was here that the ancestors of the present-day tribe, the Appalachia horse, was first bred as a war animal. And in 1924, a local McCall resident and Olympic ski champion, Corey Egan, he started the celebration of the Winter Carnival to help curb the boredom of the long McCall winters. And trust me, winters in McCall can be quite long, especially if you live in the mountainous regions. So here we go, guys. Nice, Freeport. Very, very cool. So here's some very notable people here from the state, and you'd be quite surprised. The grocery chain founder of Joe Albertson of Albertsons is from Idaho. Educator T.H. Bell. The sculptor of Mount Rushmore, Gutson Borglum from Bear Lake. Author Carl R. Brink. Senator Frank F. Church. Senator Fred Du Bois. How about, if baseball fans should probably know this guy, Harmon Killebrew from Payette. He played for his entire career for pretty much the Washington Senator, and then later they became the Minnesota Twins. He played for nearly his entire career with that franchise. He is from Payette, Idaho. Haley, Idaho's Urza Pound, well-known poet. J.R. Simblot, an industrialist. Missionary Henry Spalding, and actress Lana Turner are some pretty notable people here from Idaho. So, guys, thank you all so much for this, and we're covering it as well. So, yeah, we're nearly done with this series, by the way. In a couple weeks, we'll be doing the National Park Series on Sundays. So we'll be coming here soon. So we'll be approaching Idaho in about 59 miles. Let's go ahead and get back to the cockpit. Let's get back to the scenery, of course. So all of this is the Snake River here. So Snake River, by the way, the river that flows here, actually starts in. It actually starts all the way. It actually starts in Yellowstone, and it flows west from Yellowstone all the way to Burbank, Washington. So. Gorgeous scenery all around. So we're going to be heading to Boise, Idaho. So Boise is Idaho's most populous city and state capital. 235,000 people live in Boise. Its metro area is almost quadrupled with 846,000 people, making it the 74th most populous metro area in the United States. Its elevation around 2,700 feet above sea level, of course. It was originally established as a military outpost in 1863 during the Gold Rush era, and rapidly grew to its location on the Oregon Trail and proximity to mine operations in the region. And by the late 19th century, it's a commercial and transportation hub of the region. While agriculture and food processing remain important, Boise is home to major employers, including Micron Technology, Hewlett-Packard, and other roles in the economy are by healthcare, government, and education. Culturally, it's home to the Boise Art Museum, Idaho State Capitol, and the annual Treefort Music Fest. In the Basque Block, yes, this area actually has a lot of Basque heritage, but of the Basque people. Which, if you aren't aware about the Basque, they actually live in northern Spain in southwest France. But of course, Boise also has also got really cool sport events here too. Mainly, its main sports are collegiate sports are the big ones. Boise State football is the big one. Um, it's definitely the most well-known team in the city. College. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. And then downtown Boise is home to Boise Airport, by far the biggest and busiest airport in Idaho. It serves more people than all other airports combined. Of course, in addition to commercial general aviation, it also functions as a UASF military facility of the Idaho Air National Guard. In 2022, 2.24 million people flew out of Boise. And just this past year, it's more than doubled. It's 4.9. It's nearly 5 million people flew out of Boise last year. Yes, nearly 5 million flew out of Missouri. And Boise serves destinations all across the country, but especially in the western half of the state, flying to western U.S. destinations like Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, LA, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Dallas, Denver, Salt Lake City, and even Palm Springs. Yes, it's a growing western airport. During World War II, it was mainly used for a training base for B-17 Flying Fortress and B-24 Liberty bomber groups. And more than 6,000 men were actually stationed here in the state during the war. Yes, Boise Airport, really cool. And speaking of why it's called Going Field, the airport was actually named after First Lieutenant Paul Goen, who was born in Caldwell, Idaho. So that was his name. Yeah, Boise Airport, pretty cool. We're just about 40 nautical miles from our final stop here at Boise, Idaho. So, I wanted to ask you guys something pretty important. So one of the important things I do want to talk about, of course, for Flight Sim, What's some really cool stuff you guys looking forward to for Flight Sim? Um, for me, I'm a big fan of GA. I'm waiting for when the Comanche is fully compatible for 2024. I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to the return of the PDG 737. I really miss the 737 a lot. Look, I love the 777, the freighter. That's fantastic. I really love those planes. But man, I really missed the 737 for a lot of the short haul stuff. Because it feels kind of weird to take a 777 through a lot of the smaller airports. That would be really awesome. Just having that 73 back in the hangar would be such a cool thing. I miss that a lot. And of course, I also really want the new Parallel 42 Legend Nomad. That would also be amazing too, because I love their Kit Fox. Their Kit Fox was amazing. I missed out. Oh, I really do miss them. We should get to Boise really quickly. We only got 28 nautical miles left to go. So talking about Boise, of course, you guys should probably know about Boise State Broncos. You guys are aware about the Boise State football program. Despite playing in one of the smaller conferences in the country at the Mountain West and later Pac-12, they've actually been really successful during the 2000s. They've won multiple New Year's Six bowl games, including one against Oklahoma back in 2007, one of the greatest college football games ever. But they produced some really great talents. Um, they even got one guy who almost won, Ashton Gentry, who nearly won the Heisman Trophy. Unfortunately, in most years he would have absolutely won the Heisman, but he didn't because of Travis Hunter. So, so pretty cool stuff going on. And yes, the blue turf is not something new. They've actually put the blue turf, and that's the Las Vegas feature. And they put in since 1996. They added the blue turf. Um, and he wanted to add notoriety to school, so they added the blue turf to make it more notoriety. And And they've been going on for years. And really cool stuff. They truly have some great players as well. Boise should be coming up pretty soon. I'm going to go ahead and descend down to 4,000 feet. So we're going to head Boise, and we're going to fly over the state capital and land at Boise Airport to wrap things up. So this is the Boise River, by the way. The main river of the city is the Boise River. So we're getting near Boise, Idaho pretty shortly. Hmm. So our airport's to the left. So I wanted to ask you guys one more thing I do want to think about. So I'm thinking about that after our U.S. National Park Series, I'm thinking about doing a sports series again. But it won't be until the end of 2026 and 2027. I want to do another sports one. This time, do some sports rivalries or something like that. That would be really cool. And compile sports related stuff and rivalries and stuff. we go, guys. This is Boise, everyone. Welcome to Boise, Idaho. I made it. This is Boise. You can see some of the interesting stuff here. There's Boise State's blue turf, Albertson Stadium, home of the famous blue turf. Here is the Idaho State Capitol. There's downtown Boise. Downtown Boise. And there's Boise, Idaho. Really cool city. I'd like to visit here. Here we go. Our last. Let's see who maybe. I'm gonna check see who's still on before we land. I think Murph's still on, so I'm gonna probably rate Murph when I get done. Here we go, guys. Last land of the day. Thank you all for being here today. We're so that's it, everyone. We made it to Boise, Idaho for today. I'm gonna go ahead and park. So we'll be back on Friday once again. We'll be returning Friday in Wyoming. We'll see you guys in Jackson, at Jackson Hole Airport. So we're gonna go and say hello to Two-Toe Murphy, the one and only Two-Toe Murphy, a longtime friend of the community. So we're gonna go and say hello to Murph. Take care, everyone, and see you all soon. And have a great rest of your weekend. Goodbye, everyone.